we are the creators of the world. If all of humanity comes through a woman. So tapping into that power is your divine birthright.
Hey, Women Thrive Summit is just around the corner, and what I want you to do is go ahead and save your spot for this transformational event of the year. This is where women gather every single year for transformation, inspiration, and also amazing networking opportunities. Women Thrive Summit is going to be running for an entire week virtually but live, so that means you can join from anywhere in the world. And we've got some amazing speakers lined up for you this year. So go ahead and save your spot and don't miss this opportunity to be part of this amazing transformational event where you get to network, get to be inspired, motivated, and truly grow in business and life. My name is Ramonda Jan, and I am the founder of the Women Thrive Media, and together we bring you the platform to inspire you, motivate you, and shine a spotlight on all that you do. So come and meet us, come and network with amazing women, and access some opportunities that you may not otherwise be able to do. So go ahead, save your spot, and share it with another woman who you know needs to be there. Welcome to Women Thrive Season 5. This season, you can expect incredible conversations with women from all around the world. We at Women Thrive, not only do we put on incredible conversations with women, host events, retreats, publish a magazine, publish books, and we have created a platform for every woman to shine and share her message. So you right now tapping into a podcast that is globally recognized as the place for women to be and share their message. Be inspired, be part of the conversation, and let's thrive together.
So hi everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the Women Thrive podcast. My name is Abigail Rebecca. I am so excited to have this conversation today with our guest and to also invite you on to the podcast. And today we're going to be going really deep in our conversation because the incredible woman that I'm going to be interviewing today is a certified clinical sexologist. So, ladies, strap yourself in, get ready for a bumpy ride, because we are going to be going into a conversation around pleasure, around sexual desire, and really a conversation that I believe that a lot of us need to have surrounding our sexuality and how open we are to it, how accepting we are of it, how cool we are with it, as opposed to feeling any shame that we might be carrying around our sexuality and our sexual desires. This is a conversation that I believe that every single one of us should be happening or should be having, especially if we are in the public eye, if we're going out and we're running a business, if we're delivering messages, because it's really important that we are in love with all parts of ourselves and we're not holding anything back. So I have been looking forward to a very long time about having this conversation with our speakers. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce her to our podcast. So her name is Gwyn Isaacs. And as I said, she is a certified clinical sexologist, an intimacy coach, and host of the What Excites Us podcast. She is the founder of Earthly Desire, where she helps women reconnect with their pleasure, confidence, and authentic desires. At Women Thrive, she presents Pleasure as Power, Reclaiming Confidence Through Desire, a talk that invites women to step back into their bodies, their wanting, and their personal authority. Gwyn, it's wonderful to have you here. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Abigail. I cannot wait to have this conversation with you.
I mentioned there in the bio that you are going to be speaking as we're recording this. It's going to be happening next month. I can't believe it's come around so quickly. But the Women Thrive Summit 2026 is going to be happening in a month's time. And I am so excited to listen to your talk. And we were talking just off camera before we started recording, and I really love your message. I love what you stand for. And very often a subject like this can feel a little bit confronting, or that we're pushing the boundaries, or you a little bit out of your comfort zone, or maybe even a little bit embarrassing. But I know that you're here to help us with that, right? That this is a natural, organic conversation, just as pleasure and desire is natural and organic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's part of being a human is enjoying ourselves. And for most people, sexuality is also part of being a human.
Yeah. Well, Gwyn, I'm really excited to jump in and deep dive into the conversation. But before we do that, obviously, I introduced you a little bit there, just a little bit of a snippet of what you do. But I'd really love to hear in your words a little bit about your work and how on earth did you get into this to begin with? Where does this start? Where you woke up one day and you were like, you know what? I'm going to be an intimacy coach. Like, where did it come from?
Well, honestly, the thing that happened was my life was melting down with too many responsibilities. I owned a store, I had five little kids at home, and I just, something had to give. And I loved my shop. I ran a vintage shop, but it wasn't making enough money at the time. And then I lived in a ski town. We weren't getting enough snow. So it was like, okay, this is the thing that goes. What do I do next? And I started just sort of searching the internet and I came across this thing of be a sex coach. And I was like, wait, that's a thing? I can get paid for that? I've been doing that my whole life. I've been helping people. I mean, since before I even really knew what sex was in reality, helping people with their boyfriend problems or girlfriend problems or like how to feel good. And then I unwound all of my own shame, which I had plenty, plenty of. And that all happened before the shop. And then when I needed to break something, I was like, oh, this is perfect. And I went and did this amazing, very long, very in-depth course and came out the other side. And in 2017, I started doing this with individuals and couples and really focusing on unwinding shame because my interests are not the normal sexuality, which that is not really a reality. There's everybody, if you like it, it's normal. But because I was on the outskirts of what people consider regular, I had a lot of shame around that. And so I started working with people in my community who are also into those things. And then I just started branching out and realizing that there's so many people, especially women, who don't even think that their pleasure matters, that feeling good matters, and being able to communicate what they want, what they don't want. And so that's where this pivot of my focus has come from.
It's wonderful. And thank you for being so open and honest about your journey as well, because I think sometimes people might look at someone like you who's so open and free and teaches it, right? It's your work and kind of makes the assumption that you've never really had any shame or anything to unravel in your life. And clearly you have. And what a wonderful gift to then be able to experience that unraveling yourself and then to be able to share it with others to help others.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, it took a long time, decades of working on it before I got to this place.
You mentioned that a lot of the clients that you work with, especially women, as women, we carry a lot of shame around sex, full stop, regardless. And then adding all the sexual desires and the sexuality and all of that complication or what might feel like a complication on top of it. Where, in your experience and the work that you do, why do you feel that is as women? Where does that come from? Why is it so common within for women?
I mean, the short answer is patriarchy, right? Which also harms men, let's be really clear.
Yeah.
But the more nuanced version is that we are fed, even if we grew up in super loving hippie households, media is everywhere. We are taught to be thin, to look perfectly symmetrical, to wear this or don't wear that. You're either a slut or a whore, and there's really no winning. And then if it's not media, it's the kids in your school, or it's your church group, or it's just everywhere. And then we internalize all that and believe it. And so then we start positioning ourselves and relating to other people as if we are supposed to be exactly the same, which frankly, we're not. If we were all the same, it would be so boring. And so we just start taking care of other people because that is also what we are taught to do. And we never stop to think about, okay, the kids are at school, the husband's at work, I'm going to go to work and I'm going to come home. What do I want to do for myself? That isn't usually part of the equation. It's I need to go home and make laundry happen. I need to make sure that everybody is taken care of. And we're so exhausted. Even if you are a single woman at home, you're still thinking about other things so much of the time. We just are not taught to prioritize ourselves at all.
Yeah, you're right. We're not at all. I wanted to ask you about that state of mind that you can get into. You quite rightly said that there's so many of us that are life just gets in the way, right? I don't know if you are able to feel like sexy every single minute of the day because other things take priority, but then when it gets squashed down. So let me use this as an example. I wanted to share this with you because I was like, when I go on the podcast with Gwyn, I really want to share this with her. So I've just come back. My partner and I have just come back from 3 weeks in Africa, traveling around Africa. And I wouldn't say that we have particularly stressful lives. We don't have children. We've got a dog. So he's obviously the priority. I run a business, he runs a business. So we can get quite busy, sort of tied up in that. And one of the things that I realized when I was in Africa, because I like when we were away in Africa, I was like some rampant, I don't know what I turned into. Seriously, it was like I was a teenager again. It was like I was 15, 16 again. And one of the things that I realized is that cortisol plays such a big part because when you're in that fight and flight and oh my goodness, I need to get these deadlines done, I need to do this and I need to do that, and I've got this to look after, and you're rushing around, it's not like, it's like the desire is not there at all because you're actually then focusing on other things. And I wanted to ask you about that because I think that in this audience, there will be a lot of women that are very independent, very capable, running their business, running their family, parenting. And like you say, not putting their own needs and their desires first. How do you even begin to kind of get to a place where you are prioritizing yourself? I know that that's a big loaded question.
No, not at all, actually. So let me first say that the cortisol bit makes a lot of sense, right? Because if cortisol is a stress hormone, if a tiger was chasing us, we wouldn't be thinking to stop and get it on, right? So libido is one of the first thing that vanishes for 80% of the people. So, and if you're in the 20%, I am, that's okay too. We are all a rainbow. So,
Wait, hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Let me. Whoa. In the so you like horny all the time?
no. Oh,
Oh, I
absolutely
was gonna
not.
say.
No, 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 no. But one of my, not always, and people fluctuate throughout the day and throughout their lifetimes. So
Right.
your sexuality is going to shift all the time. So
Mhm.
things change, and especially as perimenopause and menopause happens,
Mm.
things change. When I was younger, when I would get stressed, I would want to get it on. That was part
Oh,
of my stress relief. That's what I was saying. But for most people, it's the exact opposite.
right.
Most people are like, I'm stressed. No ice cream, please. Right? Which is also a valid response. Okay. So hormones, yes, that makes a lot of sense. Now, how to prioritize it is to prioritize it. It sounds so ridiculously painful, simple. And I get that because how do I let this go? Just open your hand. But
Mhm.
to actually let it go is a whole nother thing. So with my clients, I suggest put it on your calendar. And people will say, but that's not spontaneous. It doesn't have to be spontaneous. If you put it on your calendar, then you can lead up to it and it feels like a priority. And then when it gets to that time, don't reschedule, right? And you can, if you're with a partner, you can send little sexy notes to each other. And it doesn't have to be this big, oh, Friday night at 10 o'clock, now we're going to go do it. Like, no, it can just be intimacy, and intimacy doesn't always mean physical pleasure. And so as you start doing more and more of that, you'll build up more momentum and you'll start touching their arm as you walk by in the hallway, and you'll just get little tingles, and then it'll grow and grow. But you really do have to take the time out of your schedule to feel good. And much like if you're tired and you push through and you just need to get this piece of work done before you go to sleep and you do it, and then you wake up in the morning and you realize that it was lousy, that if you had just gone to sleep and dealt with it, it would have taken 10 minutes instead of the hour that it took you to slog through it. It's the same thing with pleasure. If you prioritize it and you do it, then it helps everything else in your life feel better because you feel better.
Yeah. So it reflects really how you're feeling about yourself. It's not just something that is on its solo on its own, right? It's a
It's
real holistic approach.
Yeah, it's a part of being who you are,
Mm.
is feeling good. And if you forget to feel good, then that also trickles into everything else in your life. Stress happens more easily. Things set you off more easily. You know, the afterglow where you're all giggly and goofy, like that can last more than that hour or 20 minutes or whatever. The more that you give to pleasure, the more it will feed you back.
Mm. So let's talk about shame as well, because this is something that I really wanted to go deeper in with you because we've spoken about how very often, if you're in fight or flight, you're being chased by the saber-toothed tiger. You don't particularly feel very sexy. It's all about survival. So we can very often get tied down with the trials and tribulation of life and not put ourselves forward, not put ourselves first. But then there's also this piece that you talk about a lot, and this is what I love about the work that you do, about really releasing the shame that many people carry in this lifetime around who they are, and really trying to hide parts of themselves and trying to squash it down or feeling very shameful about it. Can I'd love for you to share a little bit more about the work that you do in that area and the different experiences that you have with your clients around that.
Okay. The first piece is to recognize where you are and do your best to accept that. Understanding and really delving into where is the shame coming from can go really, really far. So, for instance, if you have shame around the things that you would like to try in bed, where's that coming from? Is that some offhand comment that your grandmother made when you were 5? Do you want your grandmother in your bed? So sometimes it can be that easy to be like, oh, I don't actually believe that. Let me just dismiss that. That is not always the case, but it's a good place to start to find out. We also have a lot of shame from trauma. And so those sorts of things are much more interwoven and need to be untangled gently because you can re-traumatize yourself by trying to dig too deeply. And the trauma response is not only fight or flight, it's also fawn and freeze. And so for a lot of people who have particularly dealt with sexual abuse, the shame is just deeply in there and it's hard to untangle. There's an amazing book called Come As You Are that I recommend to everybody because it talks about how our body's response and our brain's responses aren't always working together. And so having that kind of knowledge, as well as lots of other knowledge, can really, really help. But start with figuring out where you are and then figuring out where you want to go isn't always available to you. So don't work too hard. Just figure out what the next step might be and get help if you want help. Like, there's a lot of these things that are really sticky, really, really sticky for a lot of people. And it's okay to ask for help. There are a bunch of us sex coaches who do different modalities, and I am not saying that you need to come to me. Go find somebody that you relate with, that you can talk to, or who is doing the work that can help you untangle the shame thing because it's deep and it's really challenging for a lot of us. One last piece. You're normal. You are okay. Whatever you're into is okay. As long as you're not harming anyone, including yourself, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Oh, and what you fantasize about is not necessarily what you want to do. That is another piece that people need to know.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes the fantasy is far more powerful than the reality because sometimes the reality is not
Yeah,
as good as the fantasy, right? So,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. I wanted to ask you about especially feminine power when it comes to feeling sexy, creating orgasms, all of that. We know to some extent that there's some kind of power that is there. And for me personally, I'm like, if we're running our business, if we're creating, if we want to manifest, then it's really important for us to be open because that's where I always say, like, our womb is our cauldron, and that's where all the creativity comes. And that's another part of your work that I really love and your thought leadership. You talk about how important it is, especially for us as women, to be open, to be connected. What are your messages around that, Gwyn?
Much like the shame, it's a whole lot. I don't even know where to begin. Tap in to your power. Get to know your body. Feel comfortable feeling your body. If you have never looked at the beauty that is your vulva, please do that. Feel your skin, know what it feels like. If you're doing it in the shower, that is a great neutral place. It's easy to access. You're already in there touching your naked self anyway. I like to do a meditation where I'm literally putting my hands above my sacral chakra, which is the sexuality chakra, and just feeding it and feeling it and having the feedback go back and forth like a spiral. I do a lot of spiral things. Yeah. Yeah. We are the creators of the world. If all of humanity comes through a woman. So tapping into that power is your divine birthright.
Mm.
And the world will be better if we are all in that place. Sorry.
No, I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. I wanted to ask you about spirals.
Okay.
So, why spirals when it comes to connecting with yourself, sexuality, intimacy?
I wish I knew. Abigail, it's the same. Why do I like chocolate? I don't know. It's just the shape that speaks to me the most. I end up drawing it the most. I feel like I was saying, like it's a feedback loop in a positive way, not a negative audio way. Come from radio, so feedback has a different connotation. Yeah, I really like spirals. I even like music that sounds circular.
Yeah, I love that. And it's quite, a spiral is quite spiritual in its formation. And when you look at nature, there's a lot of spirals going on in nature. Again, when I was just traveling just recently, whenever I go overseas, whenever I'm like somewhere hot and it's beach and it's balmy, I like get my shell jewelry out. And I was looking at my shell jewelry and I've got a necklace and it's this, I can't remember what shell it is, but it's a beautiful shell and it just looks like a vulva. So I'm
Mhm.
like looking at, and if you look in nature, There's so I remember I was working with someone once and she was like, just walk around your town and just tell me how many vaginas you spot. And then when you open your eyes to it, they're everywhere in nature, in logos. There's a lot of feminine imagery, isn't there, that's kind of been diluted down. But actually, when you look in nature, it's all there. It's glaringly obvious.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And we can thank the Victorians for trying to shut that down.
Explain a little bit about, for anyone who is unfamiliar with what you're talking about in terms of patriarchy and the death of the goddess. Would you be able to put your thought leadership onto this and explain a little bit where you're coming from with that and how it's impacted us sexually as women and men, of course, but
Well,
is that like a 2 hour podcast?
yeah, it could be. I mean, yes and no. It could be a very rambling. I'm not a sociologist, although I wanted to be one, not an archaeologist, although I've also dabbled in that reality. I love imagery. I tend towards the witchier side of life, although I would not say that I am a Wiccan or any specific religion, although I am Jewish, also not terribly religious in that reality. I Yeah, there's a lot. The Victorians in particular, when I made that joke, were very concerned about prim and proper. And if you are interested in English history in particular, I would recommend Dr. Kate Lister or Dr.
Mm.
Eleanor Janiga. They are both fantastic, and I listen to them all the time. And they have taught me, and Dr. Fern Riddell, of course, about the suffragettes, so much about what was happening and how it all got clamped down. But patriarchy goes way, way, way back farther than that, right? And I am not the learned person to actually know what I'm talking about. I can just give my ideas, which is that men are scared because women can make babies.
Yeah.
And so that is an extremely simplistic view. Let's be very clear. But that is my take, is that way back, we decided that because you couldn't know which father made that child, therefore we need to get married so that that mother is owned, and therefore the land gets passed down through the right bloodline, whatever that means. And that is how Western culture has come. There are still some matriarchal tribes in the world, but they are very, very small and really are not interested in playing with us at all. And I can't blame them. But yeah, I started learning about this stuff with Margaret Mead back in the 80s was when I was reading that. So yeah, not my area of expertise, although perhaps someday will be. I One of the things that I hold in my future casting vision of myself is a doctorate, and perhaps it will be that.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, it's fascinating, isn't it? When you go into it, I just was interested in your thoughts around that and the work that you do. Gwyn, I wanted to ask you, like, what's your vision for the future for human beings in terms of the work that you do and the freedom that I know that you are giving so many people by coming and doing this work with you?
I really think that we are on a precipice of shifting more towards what I would consider the positive aspects. I believe that right now, you are, first of all, thank you, Abigail. I love getting into this weird woo-woo sociological stuff. This is super fun. But I believe we are on a pendulum swing, that the world swings back and forth. And right now we are swung towards the fascist, hateful side. And therefore, that means that the next backlash will be moving towards the positive, loving side. And I love that I get to be a part of that. I fully believe that we are on planet Earth and planet Earth is a school, and that we have incarnated into these bodies, and part of what we're here to do is learn and create and make better. So since we are so far into the negative and moving towards the positive, the more that we do, much like the momentum I was speaking about in your own body, the more that we can do to be positive is the better and faster that that shift is going to come, hopefully with less repercussions in unpleasant ways for so many people. So I really believe sorry for the giggling. I really believe that the more that we can feel better all the time or as much as possible, because life's, the faster and easier it will be for all of us. And so by giving into pleasure, if that's 3 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day or taking 3 weeks or whatever it is to feel good, will not only help your own self and your life and your work and your family and all of those things, but it will also help propel the rest of the world towards the positive swing that we really need. Whatever side of the political spectrum you are on, I know that you want to do good. And so feeling good will help that happen.
Yes, absolutely. Orgasms, amazing orgasms are going to save the planet.
That's right. Yes, more orgasms for everyone.
More orgasms. You have an orgasm. It's like Oprah with a car, right? You have an orgasm. You have an orgasm. You have an orgasm. We share very similar views and very similar thought process. And I truly believe that in everything that you've just shared, and love is such a powerful vibration and the highest vibration. And if we can love ourselves, self-love, self-desire, self-care, and then pass that on to others, then what a wonderful message that is. And I just wanted to say, Gwyn, thank you for being such a wise teacher and guide here in Earth School.
Well, thank you. I will do my best to accept that. And I appreciate it tremendously. This is delightful. I just want to put out one last thing, and I don't think that those who are listening to this need to hear this, but if you are finding yourself not at all interested in sex, that's okay too. That's an orientation called asexuality, and that is perfectly fine. You can find pleasure in lots of ways. It doesn't have to be genital based.
Yes, thank you. Of course, yes. That's why you're here.
Yes,
To be
piece of
able
it.
to recognize that as well. Thank you, Gwyn. Where, oh, actually, I was going to ask you about the talk. So, on the Women Thrive Summit, this is just a little snippet of a much wider conversation and a movement that I know that you're starting. So, when it comes to the Women Thrive Summit in March, tell us a little bit about your talk. What are you going to be focusing on?
Pleasure is power. So a lot of this piece of it, that feeling good is important, but then using that desire that we so often squash to accept yourself and feel confident in who you are
Mm,
is the basic idea of the talk.
Wonderful. I'm really, really looking forward to hearing it, to watching you, and we'll put the links below so that anyone that's watching can come in and sign up to your talk. And where can we find you, Gwyn, on social media, your website? Like, where do you hang out online?
Honestly, I'm most often on Facebook, but I also have Instagram and TikTok, and I am Sex Fairy Gwyn in all of those places, GWYN. I also have a podcast, so please come and listen to my podcast. It's called What Excites Us, and it's easiest to find at whatexcitesus.com or wherever you already listen to podcasts.
Amazing. What do we expect to learn on your podcast, Gwyn?
Oh, my podcast is so much fun.
I bet it is.
It is. So there are the occasional times where I just rant like I do. Also, I talk to lots of other professionals who have different takes and different specialties. I talk to anybody, not anybody, obviously. I talk to people who are doing sex and sexuality or things that are sex and sexuality adjacent. So I've talked to women who do hormones and other women who do helping people who are queer make babies. And then I also talk to people, just regular people, about their sex lives. Now, we don't go and get salacious, so don't tune in looking for audio porn. There's definitely lots of places for that. That's not what I'm doing. But we talk about, one of my friends is an exhibitionist. And so I brought him on and we had a conversation about how he does that in a way that's safe for him and his wife. All sorts of other things. My goal with the podcast is that everybody knows that they're not alone, that they're normal. And so we talk about the wide variety of sexuality that shows up in the world so that you can see yourself in parts of that.
Oh, I love that so much. Because I bet there's so many people in this world that think that they're the only one and they're just keeping it to themselves and they're not vocalizing it and the shame continues. And that's so amazing that you are talking about it and sharing to be able to support people. So wonderful. Congratulations on that, Gwyn. So
Thank
amazing.
you.
Fantastic. Well, we are at time.
Great.
We're
Perfect.
going to say goodbye. Thank you so much for being such a wonderful guest, Gwyn. Thank you.
Thank you for asking the most amazing questions. That was super fun. Super fun.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed it. We'd love to know your aha moments from today's podcast. And of course, if you have any questions, if you want to dive deeper, if you feel that you need to do this work, then please reach out to Gwyn because she really is an amazing expert as well as being a wonderful human being. I've got to know Gwyn over the last few months being part of the Women Thrive community, and you're just amazing, Gwyn. So please reach out to her and you will have someone there that will be able to really help you transform. But for the time being, have an amazing day and we will see you again on the next episode of the Women Thrive podcast. Take care. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Women Thrive Podcast. I'm so thankful for you as a listener for spending time with us, myself and my co-host Abigail, to hear our conversations with our guests. If you have had the opportunity to hear our podcast, do make sure you leave a review and share this episode with your audience as well. This has helped us reach the 5 top % globally ranked podcast, as well as reach more than 30,000 downloads to date. Your support means so much to us, and this is how we get to reach more people around the world. At Women Thrive Media, we're here to amplify voices of women and empower women to take the center stage and shine a spotlight on their messages.